Hello and welcome back to the KCC channel. I'm Rob and I hope you're having a wonderful day today. Today we're jumping into some I Don't Work Here Lady. Our first story today comes to us from Joe Satomi. We don't work here, but what the hell, I'll take your order. Let's jump right in. In my youth, my family was rather poor, lower middle class. My dad, who could not read or write, worked graveyard shift at a creamery. My mother, a housewife, was very active in PTA and other community activities. My dad's job paid the bills and put staple foods on the table, but left no room for comfort expenses. As soon as I was old enough, I got a paper route. The monthly funds went towards padding our family's budget. One simple joy we took pleasure in was once a month we would splurge on a quiet salad and pizza dinner at the local Pizza Hut. This story takes place 1987, 1988 there-ish. I was about 14 at the time. We arrived one Sunday afternoon at the local pizza parlor. We went in, sat down at our regular table, and we waited for the waitress to come take our order. We talked, we waited. We cracked jokes and waited some more. We started to realize something was not quite right after 10 to 15 minutes. We had heard the phone ring a few times, but other than that, there was none of the usual sounds of bustling workers in the kitchen area. Curious, I slid out of the bench and approached the cashier's counter. Looking around in the back area, I could not see a living soul. "Hello," I called out. Nothing. "Anybody back there?" Again, no response. Now I was feeling that distinct, edgy feeling one gets while watching a horror movie. I returned to my parents and informed them what I had discovered, or should say, lack of discovered. "Check the restrooms," my dad suggested. My mom agreed. She checked the women's room while my dad checked the men's. No one. Now we were all very concerned and more than a little frightened. We had heard on TV and in newspapers stories how sometimes a robbery goes bad and it was only discovered when employees' bodies were found. "Call the police," Mum suggested, pointing at the phone on the wall, which chose that very moment to ring out loud, making all of us jump in fright. "The freezer," I said over the ringing phone. "What?" Mum asked. "The freezer. In horror movies, that's where the bodies always are, right?" "I'll look," I said. "The hell you will," my mom responded with authority. "Your father will check it." My beloved father, the man I admired most in the world, pointed at me and said, "He runs faster." In the end, I did indeed go behind the counter by the simple fact my parents were too busy arguing over who would go check in the back to notice me walking off. First, I armed myself with an impressively large and surprisingly sharp round pizza cutter sitting on a counter. Next, I checked the entirety of the back area. The back door was locked from the inside. Then, I checked the manager's office cubicle. Finally, I approached the freezer. I knew what I was going to find. I've seen this scene in plenty of movies. By this point, both my parents noticed my absence and had joined me, staring at the freezer door with morbid anticipation. I grabbed the handle, pulled, and threw the door open. And sure enough, there staring back at us was boxes of pizza making supplies. But no bodies. What? I was, truth to tell, morbidly disappointed. Nobody, no bodies, nothing, no workers. We were the only ones in the pizza parlor. "Hello," came a call from the front. I'm pretty sure if a little more effort had been put into the jump scare, we would have hit our heads on the ceiling. Quickly, we approached the front. I recall my heart racing a mile, thinking an employee had arrived, only to find a middle-aged gentleman waiting along with his wife by the "wait to be seated" sign. "Oh, there you are," he said. "We would like a table for two." "I'm sorry, sir," my mother replied. "We don't work here." "Okay, but we want a table for two." "There is nobody here. We checked," Mom explained. "Yes, I can see the place is empty. So can we have a table in the back?" The man pressed. "We don't work here. As far as we can tell, there is nobody here that's supposed to be here," Mom further elaborated. "So where can we sit?" "Oh, just find a place to park your butts. The place is empty," my dad butted in. My father, bluntly honest and always absurdly practical. "Honey, just call the police. Let them know what we found." With that decided, my dad scuttled off to the salad bar. Let it be known, my father was never one to let an opportunity for a meal go to waste. It took over an hour for a police officer to arrive. The reason it took so long, as the officer would explain later, was that dispatch had downgraded our call to non-emergency status. During the wait, however, we had to deal with a few things. "Waiter, we would like menus, please." My dad, being the helpful sort with a decidedly odd sense of humor, gave the couple menus. 1 sweet tea and 1 unsweet with lemon, please. I was already hitting the fountain drink machine. I was there, it was there, and Mom had found the coffee supplies, so what the heck? I brought them their drinks. We would like 2 dinner salads and a large pepperoni pizza. Dad pointed to the plates by the salad bar and told them, might be a few minutes on the pizza, gotta wait for an employee to show up first, but go ahead and eat as much salad as you want. Then, one of the nearby churches lets out, hello, there are 4 of us. Hi, we got 2 more coming. I tried calling several times. Can I please get 2 large pizzas to go? By the time the police officer arrived, my mom and I were effectively running the pizza parlor, along with a guy who came in from the church with his family. He said he once worked at the other Pizza Hut in town while in college. Mom took orders, I delivered drinks and food, I got tips, and the young man made the pizzas. My dad, he was busy eating and chatting with the customers. As for people paying for their food, neither my father or I could calculate our way past 10 fingers and 10 toes. Mom, on the other hand, was one of those super annoying people of her generation that could calculate a whole string of numbers in her head faster than you could type on a digital calculating machine. Really, really annoying. So she figured up the amount, including tax, and had them pay with check. The checks were slid under the cash register. The register itself we did not even try and touch. When the officer arrived, we were quite happy to recognize him as one of the officers my dad was friends with. Back then, police officers on the night shift would come by the creamery my dad worked at and get free ice cream from the employees' break room. Dad would often take time to shoot the breeze with them for a few minutes. Officer Shield, as I will call him, immediately recognized my dad and asked him what was going on. My dad explained the situation and I butted in, sounding a little disappointed, I'm sure, that we didn't find any dead bodies in the freezer. Officer Shield first went to the register, opened it, and confirmed that there was still cash in the till box, then walked around the inside and outside of the building. No signs whatsoever of any kind of disturbance. He called it in and waited for orders from higher-ups. In the meantime, never let it be said a police officer is willing to pass up an opportunity for free food. 20 to 30 minutes later, I can't recall, but eventually he got a call back telling him to lock up the place. They were trying to contact the owner of that franchise, but problem, he couldn't find the keys to the parlor, and the main doors had to be locked from either the outside with a key or the doors locked from the inside with the latch. Then exit out the back door, which required a key to lock the bolt from the outside. Officer Shield called that fact back in. A few minutes later, the lead officer on shift arrived to evaluate the situation. What did he find? A pizza parlor half full of customers happily chowing down on pizza. When he asked, understandably confused, why Officer Shield called in his report saying there were no employees on the premises when clearly customers were being served, at which point I oh so happily piped in while handing off a pizza to go to a waiting customer. Oh, we don't work here, we're just being helpful. So eventually the police managed to contact the owner after a couple of hours. The owner contacted the manager and the manager came storming in. Lots of anger and confusion. The manager, in a fluster, tried to accuse my parents and I of theft of company property, but Officer Shield would have none of that, and pointed out the checks, the order slips, and the list of anything we used. Then he pointed out the fact that we could have just left the place empty, and thieves could have ransacked the parlor. She backed down and focused on contacting the workers that were supposed to be on duty. Turned out the assistant manager had found out that very morning her boyfriend was having an affair. She had then gone on a tirade, taking out her anger on her male employees, verbally abusing them. They chose not to take the abuse and walked off. The assistant manager then just decided to up and quit, leaving the shop wide open. As for my parents and I, we were informed by Officer Shield very firmly that should we, for whatever reason, find ourselves in such a situation again, it would be far more helpful if we refrained from being helpful. And yes, we did pay for our food and drinks, but we still got banned for life from that parlor. Now, I know things were completely different back in the 80s because if you did this today, this would be an absolute PR nightmare for this restaurant, and also, a lot of people probably would have gotten sued. Could you imagine if one person got sick that night from the food they ate? Oh my gosh, the lawsuits would never stop. But then it could go a completely different way with the advent of social media, and oh my gosh, Pizza Hut decided these people need their own franchise because they just ran this one without any training. They're better than all the managers we already have on payroll. Do me a quick favor, have a look down below the video. If that subscribe button's still red, it means you're not actually subscribed to the KCC channel. Please hit that subscribe button for more daily Reddit stories. Our next story today comes to us from Jupiter Jungle. My sister is my hero. Let's jump right in. I was with my sister at a large store several years ago. I was thinking it was Walmart, but it may have been Target. First off, my sister is a sweetheart, one of the most loving people you will ever meet. She loves everyone. If you are a good person and do good things, she will appreciate you. She doesn't curse or raise her voice ever. However, she also doesn't like or appreciate people mistreating others or injustices. She always speaks out. We were in line, it was a busy night, and we were several people back. In true sister fashion, she remembered things after we were in line and sent me to go get them. I ran to get them, and upon my return, I heard the tail end of a heated discussion, which led to everyone clapping and my sister standing at the front of the line, angrily glaring at this one guy 3 people back. If I remember correctly, we were 5 people back, so 2 people behind him. Apparently, while I was gone, the cashier had to price check something and was taking a bit longer. The cashier was a very sweet young man that had Down syndrome. I don't think it was the cashier's fault things were slow. It was a busy spurt, meaning the store wasn't that busy, but quite a few people hit the registers all at the same time. And according to my sister, it was a series of events that caused things to slow down on our register. Anyway, the man 3 customers back was super pissed that things were taking slow and decided his time was more important than being a decent human being. He angrily muttered things under his breath that my sister refused to repeat. Then, after the second price check, he started yelling, "Come on, you've got to be kidding me. Can we get a real employee to check us out? Get this R word out of here." According to the woman in front of him, that was when my sister had enough. She left our cart in line and marched over to the employee and stood next to him behind the conveyor belt. She looked at the employee and told him, "You're perfect, and don't let mean people try to tell you otherwise." Then she glared at the man, raising her voice to be heard since he was still yelling and now at her. "He doesn't need any other reason to be slow." I assume he was cursing too, but my sister doesn't curse, and when I was told what I missed, it was by my sister and the older woman. We were in our 20s, I assume the woman was mid-40s, that was in front of that mean dude. Anyway, she stared daggers into the man and bluntly told him, "How dare you talk to someone like that? No one deserves to be talked to like that. Also, I abhor that R word, but the only one acting like that is you." The man said something about how my sister can't talk to him like that. He's a customer. To which my sister told him, "I don't work here." She said slowly and emphasized each word. "And I don't know him. What I do know is you have poor attitude and should think about how you talk to people, as you don't want to be that guy." She air quoted that for emphasis. I could hear the "I don't work here" as I came back and ended up running past everyone, seeing my sister still standing by the employee with her hand on his back. I ran past everyone and stood at the end of the conveyor belt. Mostly, I wanted to be in between the man and my sister. Everyone started clapping by this point, and we're all staring at him. Some guy that was behind us was cheering on my sister and calling out things like, "Dude, don't be a douche, just shut up." No one moved or said anything else, so my sister continued, "Well, as I see it, you have 2 choices. You can leave and go somewhere else, or shut your mouth." At this point, a manager came up and stood next to me looking around all the entire line, at everyone. It was dead quiet, waiting to see what the man wanted to do. "Is everything okay here?" he asked slowly. My sister answered, "This man here was verbally abusing your employee." The manager looked pissed, but the guy was already properly shamed for his attitude. He looked down and did not say anything. My sister looked at the employee, asking him if he was okay or if he needed a break. The manager was a little slow, but backed up the break, even offered to take over his lane. The employee said he wanted one, but wanted to clear his lane first. My sister refused to leave his side. I refused to move. I wanted to stay between angry guy and my sister. The manager stood next to me and took over bagging. Though he told the rest of the people in line that the other register was now open, a few people went. The guy went through the line quietly, paid and left, and refused to look at anyone in the eyes. After he went through, my sister waved the guy that was behind us through so we would be last. After we finished paying, the employee came around and gave her the biggest hug and thanked her. He had tears in his eyes. He said that it happened often, and that was the first time anybody has ever stood up for him. He also explained this was why he rarely helps on register unless it's late at night. My sister told him to always remember, if people are mean, it wasn't his fault or his problem. It's their problem. After that, he left to go on break while the older woman stayed to talk to us and offered to buy our items. My sister refused the offer but happily talked to her while they filled me in. The manager came out a few minutes later and gave us coupons and a gift card. She took the coupons but asked if he would give the gift card to the employee. Honestly, I'm surprised Angry Man stayed and checked out. I hope he thinks about how he talks to people in the future. There was a comment down below from Wafer2016 that kind of sums up the way I feel about this. It says, there are only two words that will drive me into an instant rage. One starts with N and the other starts with R. Both exist only to hurt, to shame, and to kill the spirit of the one they are being thrown at. I, like OP's sister, don't curse much, but you say those two words in my hearing range, and I'ma rip you a new hole sideways. Wafer2016 finished it off with, OP, please tell your sister she is a superhero. Check out both OPs linked in the description down below. I thank you for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day, and we'll see you tomorrow.